My name is Anderson Gitonga, and I'm going to read the recommendations that persons with disabilities are putting forward to be included in BBI. And this is as a result of a wide consultation with persons with disabilities across the country. Recommendation number 1 is that in Article 54(2) of our Constitution, the state shall be obligated to ensure that persons with disabilities hold at least 5% of elective and appointive positions in public bodies. This provision shall not be realized on a progressive basis as it has been before. We also propose that political parties shall abide with the principle of fair representation of persons with disabilities while preparing the party list. We propose that persons with disabilities who are members of respective political parties have a say in determining the person proposed for nomination to represent persons with disabilities. In Article 97 of our Constitution, in regard to the National Assembly, in the proposed 360 members as proposed by BBI, we propose that 18 seats shall be reserved for persons with disabilities, being 9 for men and 9 for women, in line with the principle of 5% representation. These seats shall be filled by political parties using lists determined on the basis of total number of votes cast at the national level. Our proposal number 4, as it is in Article 98(1)(d) of our law, of our Constitution, the Senate shall include at least 4 senators with disabilities, including 2 men and 2 women, to represent persons with disabilities in Senate, again in line with the principle of 5% representation. In Article 152 of the Constitution, the President shall ensure that at least 1 cabinet minister is a person with a disability. In Article 155 of the Constitution, the President shall ensure that at least 3 principal secretaries are persons with disabilities. Our other proposal is in regard to the way the county assemblies are constituted, and we are proposing that at least we'll have 4 members with disabilities, to include 2 men and 2 women to represent persons with disabilities in the county assemblies. These seats shall be filled by political parties based on the total number of votes cast at the county level. The effect of this amendment shall be to clarify that a county assembly will be deemed not to be properly constituted if it fails to include members with disabilities. Number 8, in Article 250 of our Constitution, the President shall ensure that at least 1 member of all our constitutional commissions is a person with a disability. And in Article 260 of the Constitution, the definition of persons with disabilities is introduced in full conformance with the social model of defining persons with disabilities as anchored in the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. As I conclude, we are emphasizing that these proposals are inspired by a self-evident truth. The most basic concerns of persons with disabilities are invariably forgotten in every process, which includes their participation. This reality is laid bare by the fact that the BBI task force and its successor, the steering committee, which did not have members with disabilities. By contrast, the process which led to the 2010 Constitution included persons with disabilities and resulted in inclusive provisions. The message of persons with disabilities today is that nothing about us without us, a message that must be respected in the National Assembly, the Senate, county assemblies, cabinet, and the constitutional commissions. As persons with disabilities, we gave the BBI task force all these recommendations which were unfortunately disregarded. The BBI report neither recognizes the barriers and the restrictions that as persons with disabilities we face in participation in the various community affairs. We presented memos, consulted with hundreds of persons with disabilities across the country and in all our counties, and made it clear what they wanted addressed in the BBI. We shared all this with the task force. It is therefore shocking to us that all this was blatantly ignored. We cannot claim to be building bridges if millions of Kenyans will be left further marginalized and oppressed. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now asking our legislators who represent us in Parliament to receive and take our memoranda to Naivasha and present our demands in the planned meeting. We now want to officially hand over our memoranda to them.
Thank you very much. Before we